It was a desperate time. A young mother with 2 boys had just lost her husband, their father. The story is recorded in 2 Kings chapter 4. At this time, a widow with 2 young children had no way to support herself or her children. She was in a desperate situation. Her only thought was, I should go to the prophet, who was Elisha at this time, and see what can be done. So she went to the prophet, and Elisha listened to her as she said her situation. As all she had left to support herself was a small cruse of oil. That's everything she had. And so the prophet, he thought about that for a moment. And then he said this. He said, go and get pots. Don't get just a few. Get a lot of pots. And so the lady did. She went and gathered all the pots from her house. Then she went to her neighbors and gathered all kinds of pots from them until the room was full. And then the prophet came into the room and she said, I have gathered all these pots. What do we do next? And he said, take your oil and begin to pour into the pots. Well, here was this tiny cruse of oil and all of these pots. There's no way that she was going to be able to fill all those pots with this little bit of oil. But she obeyed and she began pouring, and the first pot filled up. She continued to the next pot. Oil still kept coming. It filled that pot. And the Bible tells us that the flow of oil did not stop until the very last pot was filled. A takeaway from this story. A little in the hands of God is a lot. Don't forget that. A little in the hands of God is a lot. But I want to tell you why this story is important to me and to Campion Academy. I believe that every student that comes to Campion Academy is an empty pot, waiting to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And so we don't want to ask just for a few. We want a lot of pots to be here, to be filled with the oil of the Holy Spirit. And God has blessed us this year. We have 23 more students than we had at the end of last year. And we have 13 students above our budget for this school year. God has blessed us. But our responsibility is this: put them in a position to receive the oil of the Holy Spirit. I want to ask you guys to pray for that these students will be filled with the Spirit. What about you? How is your pot? How is your life? I challenge you to take a look at it. Are you so full of this life that there is no room for the oil of the Holy Spirit in your life? What needs to happen so that there is room in your life for the Holy Spirit? So the 3 things I want you to remember. Number 1, a little in the hand of God is a lot. Number 2, pray for our students that they will be filled with the Holy Spirit this year. And number 3, I challenge you to look at your life. Are you making room for the Holy Spirit in your life?